Jawan, Lieutenant General Sagat Singh, who never lost a war and was instrumental in the liberation of Goa, Bangladesh and in saving Nathula. Lieutenant General Sagat Singh earned a badge of honor that no other Indian soldier, perhaps no other soldier in the world, can boast of. He had a price on his head, a reward of $10,000 offered by the government of Portugal for anyone who would capture the man who ended the Portuguese rule in Goa. As a wanted man, Sagat Singh had his face on posters plastered in cafes and restaurants all over Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, in 1961. Of course, no one ever turned him in, and this gusty soldier lived the rest of his life as a free man to tell this tale of how he and his parachute regiment stormed into Goa on the fateful day of December 19, 1961. Similarly, after the surrender of the Pakistani army in 1971, the Indian Army found a dossier on Lieutenant General Sagat Singh prepared by the Pakistani Army, which mentioned that Sagat Singh is the Indian general who should be feared most, as he had never lost any battle against any enemy anywhere. What a tribute from an enemy! Sagat Singh commenced his military career as a sepoy in the Buccaneer State Forces with only a smattering knowledge of English. At the outbreak of World War II, commissioned as an officer and served in the Middle East with his battalion on staff. By the time the war was over, he was the only officer to have done 2 staff courses, including the prestigious course at Quetta. On being absorbed into the Indian Army after independence, he was transferred to the 3rd Gorkha Rifles, where he commanded 2 battalions. He was given command of the Para Brigade on promotion, and he led to the Goa operations with aplomb. He was primarily responsible for liberating the Portuguese colony. Next, in saving Nathula. At a time when Chinese aggression at the border was once again flaring up, it was relevant to remember the fearless exploits of Lieutenant General Sagat Singh in the face of such misadventures. It was in 1967 that the military realized that Sagat was cut from a different cloth. For 5 years, the festering wounds of 1962 Indo-Sino War had irked Sagat's conscience, and the man of destiny, like his forefathers, sought to avenge the slightest dishonor. Opportunity came knocking, and the man who had a talent for war latched onto it with both his hands. And how? In 1965, as a major general and the GOC of 17 mountain divisions, the Chinese made provocative bids in 2 areas, Nathula and Jalebla. Fatally for these Chinese, Nathula was under Sagat's command. Given the overall situation, the headquarters had given the permission to vacate and fall back. While Jalebla was vacated by the other division, Sagat famously disagreed and reasoned furiously by fortifying even further and refused to be cowed down. This brazen defiance was proved to be useful in 1967 when Nathula erupted in a violent clash, where serendipitously, similar to Galwan, the CO of battalion was killed by the Chinese, and the Indian side opened up with a heavy retaliation. The dispute on the development of military infrastructure on the Indian side, but Sagat refused to buckle down and commenced relentless artillery fire along with infantry attacks. The Chinese were struck like never before. The final tally was over 300 Chinese fatalities to 65 on the Indian side. The Chinese had picked a fight with the wrong man. Sagat was raring to go for over 2 years, and when the border did erupt, Sagat redeemed his memories of 1962 and bloodied the Chinese nose, and that ensured no such attempt was made till 2020. Lastly, in liberating Bangladesh, Lieutenant General Sagat Singh was an unknown hero of 1971 war who was instrumental in the fall of Dhaka. He was the general officer commanding for Tezpur of Assam, based 4 corps, and it was he who, despite getting injured by the machine gun fire, successfully conducted the daring hitherto unknown nighttime heliborne operations over the rivers and the treacherous terrain, which made the fall of Dhaka so quickly and decisively, leading to this historic surrender of 93,000 Pakistani soldiers at the Dhaka racecourse. The capture of Dhaka by our forces was neither planned nor factored in the operational objectives of our army headquarters nor the headquarters of Eastern Command. In fact, Lieutenant General Arora, GOC, in Sea Eastern Command was vehement in opposing Sagat's plans to move on to Dhaka. But Sagat not only crossed the mighty Meghna, which nobody thought was feasible, but on 9th day of the commencement of the war, his leading troops with 4 guards in the van had reached the suburbs of Dhaka and on 14th December had occupied the Gulshan town, the poshest locality of Dhaka, where the Dhaka Zero milestone was placed. When orders were received to halt further advance, as the Pakistani army agreed for a ceasefire which became effective on 15th December of 1971. After the instrument of surrender signed on December 16, 1971, Indira Gandhi visited Dhaka and profusely thanked General Sagat Singh, a 6-footer, and saw to it that he stayed in Dhaka to assist Sheikh Mujibur Rahman government. For his leadership and command for the race to Dhaka, the Indian government honored Sagat Singh through an award of Padma Bhushan. He had also received the Param Vishishta Seva medal. After his retirement from the army, he settled down in the Indian province of Rajasthan's capital Jaipur, where he built a farmhouse which was aptly called Meghna, after the river over which he undertook the heliborne operations. He also named his granddaughter Meghna. He passed away in 2001. In March of 2013, the government of Bangladesh invited the honoured Colonel Ran Vijay Singh, son of Sagat Singh, and Damayanti, wife of Ran Vijay Singh, to Dhaka to pay tribute to General Sagat Singh, the liberator of Bangladesh. During Sagat Singh's century year in 2019, he was honoured by the Indian Army by erecting busts in his memory in his native states, 2 cities, Jaipur and Jodhpur. Jai Hind!